Alright, so in today's video, I got the Platinum Trophy on Just Cause 4. Just because I wanted to. No, I'm just kidding, this was torture. But as you all probably know, this is the 4th game in the Just Cause series, which is very old. And yes, the newest game is now almost 7 years old, with the first one in the series being almost 20 years old. Do you feel old yet there, brother? Anyways, Just Cause 4 has 34 trophies, including the Platinum, and it's actually quite the grind of a game, taking 40 hours to complete, with the majority of it being in the cleanup stages, actually. And it's not exactly my idea of a fun time, but you'll see why today. Anyways, this is also a part of a challenge I've been doing, trying to platinum over 100 games suggested by viewers of the channel. And if I can't complete all of these before hitting 850,000 subscribers, then I have to shave my head and look like a base character from a video game. So drop a like and subscribe. So stage 1 is just beat the story of the game without worrying about any missable trophies at all, since it's quite the open world game. The entire premise for Just Cause 4, from my understanding and not having played any of the other ones, since they're a little bit too old nowadays for completion, is that we play as a dude named Rico Rodriguez and are essentially trying to take down and eliminate a bunch of evil people going after their leader called Oscar Espinoza, all in the intro of this game. After the first 10 minutes of gameplay and combat, you then see a cutscene of the main villain just talking to his henchman right here about Rico, and then saying that they can easily take him out, which they then do very straightforwardly. So Rico fails, as you can see, and this is kind of where the game begins and where the story ends. Shout out to the 6 out of 10 rating, very generous, I'm not gonna lie. That is because Just Cause 4's plot and actual gameplay entirely surrounds you going to every region of the map on this island that we are on, called Solus, which is a completely made up country, my favorite. But if you've played the Ghost Recon games and even Far Cry 3, they all have a very similar style to this game, in the sense that the entire land is under enemy control and you are literally just going in and causing chaos to take it over with a local rebel group. And before we continue, I got my first trophy of the day right here in the beginning of the game from using the retractor for 15 minutes total, which is unmissable as the trophy guide says, because this is one of the main ways you maneuver and throw your character around the game. But anyways, I was going to say that this style of game where you had to take over an entire island sounds really fun and is for about 2 hours, but then you, or at least I, got bored out of my mind doing the same objectives over and over and over. It really felt like I was back in Arkham Asylum again, but we already escaped that, so now I'm just confused. But one other thing about this game's gameplay that it has that's unique, aside from the grappling hook and wingsuit mechanics, is the chaos bar. This is a very annoying little thing that raises upon you destroying enemies, enemy vehicles, enemy structures, or just overall causing chaos. But if you fill it up all the way, you get a trophy for doing that for the first time. It also gives you a squad reserve every time you fill it up, which then get used to deploy troops on regions of enemy territory to take them over. So it kind of almost gatekeeps you in a way as to not let you take over everything in an hour. But within this game, there's also 2 online trophies making up a very small portion, and we love to see it. As you all know, online trophies are the vile poison in our society, and we would all be better off without them alive and well. But I actually did one of them right here from tracking a feat, which is like a challenge that your friends list integrates with, and if you just perform any feat while tracking it, you get this trophy pop right here. Then I just kept on playing the story, which, as I've already stated, is very repetitive, so I'm gonna stop saying it's repetitive now, because now I'm being repetitive. This game is gonna cause me to do something justly. Square Enix, watch your back. But in my efforts of playing this game, I used the booster for 15 minutes, which is another version of the retractor trophy I got first in the game, and here's that also. Now that's 2 out of the 3 types of grappling hook attachments, so guess what I got next? Yup, I got the trophy for using the final one, called the air lifter, which is like this little balloon thing that you can put on anything, and after having it for 15 minutes, I got this trophy. Now aside from this game's dry-ass main story that resembles a woman in a midlife crisis and struggling marriage, there is actually a plentiful amount of side quests, and these side quests for the most part are actually fun to do. They generally featured a lot of high action stuff that happened, and one of them was a car racing quest line, which I personally loved despite being trash at driving cars. But once I did the first intro to each side quest line, I got this trophy sort of establishing all the characters in them before really diving in. And I sadly wouldn't dive into any side stuff right now until much later, but that's okay. And speaking of stuff that happened much later in time, I would end up going like 5 or 6 hours without getting any trophies or really doing anything. Now that is because this game has almost 0 combat trophies, or really any trophies, let's be honest. But also because I had finally figured out how to really progress the story in an efficient way, which involved me sticking my head into the sand and just doing main story over and over and over. And it was definitely a 6 out of 10 game quality, because I almost cried doing this. But I didn't, and instead got a trophy after forever, like I've said, for completing every single factory in the game, which is simply just an elevated enemy outpost that has a ton more people in it, and outside of it trying to eat you alive. Another common mission objective was to disarm bombs at enemy outposts, and you do this by driving vehicles vehicles into the water to disable them, because I'm sure that highly explosive devices just immediately cripple due to water exposure. I'm totally sure that's safe. Anyways, I did all of those types of missions like the factories and got another completionist trophy right here. Now, this game did have a big storyline regarding controlling the weather, and it's also apparently one of Square Enix's most proud story moments because it's the main selling point in graphic. They just love showing giant tornado, which is so swag. The mission line for this was actually called Operation Thunder Barge, and I swear that's what I used to call it when I shit myself after Taco Bell Thursday. But as you'd expect, we destroyed and took all of the weather alerting equipment from the bad guys who wanted to use it against the world and got a trophy once completed. But that was actually only for thunderstorms and lightning storms weather, and there was another mission line for the sandstorm and tornadoes like I also mentioned. And literally, as you would expect, it worked the exact same way. You just do the missions, which consist of you destroying stuff, then have to fight a big storm and also destroy that. And that's it for the depth of story, with another trophy popping once completed. I then did the last of the weather missions right after, and yes, there was 3 of them. Those people really try to drag out this game's runtime, goodness. Anyways, I completed the 3rd one right here for another trophy. But those were also the last 3 mission lines I had to do for the main story in general, seeing as aside from just taking over the island, those were needed because we can't have weather storms halting our takeover of the final base, which we then did go do right after, since it is now time to finish this quote-unquote story. So this last mission did thankfully have some cool things happen. For one, I broke into the main villain's office and I got assaulted emotionally and physically by helicopters with guns, so that's fun. But then the game kind of cock-blocked us and we didn't get some big battle against a villain, instead just a trophy. But also a cutscene showing him very confidently flying away from us in his plane, accepting defeat. However, he was gloating a little too much and also sitting in a mocking way, which angered us. So we threw something at his plane and it blew up with him burning with his ship like a true captain. Also, the final story trophy then popped because we have officially won and saved the day. Total time for this game's main story took me about 9 to 10 hours to get here. But my final playtime after getting the platinum is at 33 hours. So now it's time to begin stages 2 and 3, the cleanup of everything in this game, and 23 hours of torture is about to take over my life. 2.5 times more than the story's length even is, good lord. So the first thing and main challenge of this overall is to go complete the over 400 stunts the game has. This involves speed traps, car challenges, wingsuit events, and much more. But while I was on Discord looking at stuff that people in my server were talking about, I saw some chatter regarding a trophy in this game where you have to find every single location, with there being over 150 of them. And I realized this was probably a very annoying trophy, seeing as there is no tracker or in-game help to find these, and I made it my goal to get all of those before truly grinding after stunts so I wouldn't miss anything important. And I then spent 3.5 hours of my life flying a helicopter around this game while crossing off locations on a map I found on the internet. Truly a completionist average Tuesday. But before finding them all, I found half of them for that trophy, so thanks I guess. And as I've said, it took me over 3 hours to do this, so I literally just kept on flying around in circles, listening to music and grinding this out. I think my brain might have melted a bit in my head, but it's fine, it's not leaking yet. And eventually I did find them all, and I was thankful enough not to miss a location due to my insanely accurate crossing out skills and persistence. So here is that horrid trophy, and now the stunt grind really begins. My main method was to just go do any of them that I saw on the map, because there is so many, you really can't miss them, especially if you have every location like I made sure to get. But after doing stunts for around 6 hours, I was so damn burnt out by them that I took a little break from stunt grinding to do a side quest instead. And I chose to complete the Garland King side quest line first. This girl is like a movie producer on the island and tasked us with being her main actor slash stuntman in the film, with almost all of her missions just having us drive really fast cars, and it was probably the most fun thing about this game in general, to be honest. Although the driving mechanics do kind of blow, I'm not going to complain about it.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
So once that was complete, it did refresh my palette for stunts, and I went back on the grind to try and go smash these out like the little PlayStation slave I am. I love you, Sony. Please give me another controller. This one barely works anymore. I dropped it. Anyways, one of the collectible types I have been grinding aside from stunts and all that shit was ancient statues or ancient ruins, whatever you want to call these. And they are very simple to complete, having you just drag the wooden arm a bit for it to open up. After finding them all, I also got this trophy, being the first of many collectibles to follow. So an hour and a half more of grinding, I would end up finally reaching the conclusion of this grind and begin to get some trophy pops from completing everything. Starting off first with destroying every airship in the game. This is one of the smallest collectible types, only having like 20 of them I think, but here it is anyways. I then did the hardest challenge type next, being the wingsuit stunts. If you can remember the Batman AR challenges, this is like that, except not as much on cocaine, rather just a small little sniff. No controllers were lost, however, and here is the trophy. I then completed all these speed stunts after, which is just how you drive or fly into a circle fast, and most can be cheesed with flying vehicles actually, so this was fairly easy, and here's the trophy. I then did every single vehicle stunt, which is like the speed stunts, except you don't need a specific speed, but rather a specific car to complete these. And here's that trophy pop from them all. Now that's all of these stunts done finally, and we sadly aren't finished with the grind, not even close. So I just real fast did the Lewis questline, which was kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was not even close to fun like the Garland King one was. But I did finish it and got this trophy pop. I then did a random trophy called Weapon Stash once I completed enough of another side quest line missions to unlock all of the weapons, so that's neat. And the last real side quest I did was this tomb one with some smart guy, and it was pretty ass to be honest. However, once I completed it, I got 2 trophies, so that sweetened the deal a little bit. But with that side quest line finished, I had now done all of them in the game that there was. And I had a ton of points, which I didn't even realize could be used to upgrade the grappling hook. So yes, I am an idiot who does not pay attention, and yes, there is a trophy for fully upgrading the grappling hook, which I did get right here. I then did a few throwaway trophies, which are mostly all random things like standing at the top of the world, for example, exploding a car with a grenade launcher's alternate fire mode, and for some reason there's a trophy for turning 10 enemies into a cow with the cow gun in one session. But what the hell does this mean? I also crashed right into a plane with mine reenacting, I can't say that, but it was a trophy. And then I finally did every single feat in the game. But after playing this long, I was only missing a few, and it wasn't that hard to complete the remainder of them for this trophy pop. I now only have one more real trophy to get, and it's from reaching level 14 of the Chaos Army. Now, I was only at 7 when beginning the grind for this, so it took a hot minute to complete. And that's because raising the chaos meter involved constant action, and the enemies in this game outside of the direct story moments don't really just come flying in at you in faster and faster rates. They kind of just show up when they want to show up, and it's never exactly a big rush, which really halts the whole chaos idea and makes it a bit sad almost. But I realized right away that getting to level 14 by normal means, just flying around and shooting enemy bases, was gonna take forever. So I instead just hired a little Chinese boy to play for me all night and day, and he got it done. Shout out to Son Lee, my homie. Oh my god! No, I'm just kidding. I actually looked up a method, and I hate to disappoint r/trophies, but I did do this myself and just flew in circles after getting enemies alerted, which causes a ton of them to come and try and kill me. But while just flying around the combat zone, our rebel team just kind of shows up and begins to fight the enemies for us. And upon the destruction of any and all enemy vehicles nearby, you also get points without needing to even shoot them at all. So it's a great way to get those numbers up, if you know what I'm saying. And I did that for hours and hours straight. Again, my brain is melting. But eventually I did get the final trophies I needed with that platinum trophy pop added on as well. So that was the Just Cause 4 platinum trophy experience. Overall, I think the game was meh. It was a lot of fun for the first 2 hours, like I said, but after realizing the gameplay is literally just copy pasted all over the game's island, map, whatever, it got so dry. Like, this game actually resembles what it feels like to consume an entire stack of saltine crackers without drinking any water at all before, during, or after. That's how dry it is. Giving it a rating out of 10, I'm just gonna say 5, purely because the creativity with a few things was very, very good, but overall the creativity was dead. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.